We are just under 5 months away from House of the Dragon arriving on HBO and HBO Max. There's a variety of expectations, and I believe in prior videos I've expressed my optimism. However, in the comment section of my videos and in the comment section of other YouTubers, a question has been asked. Will House of the Dragon be too woke? Actually, these haven't all been questions, but rather foregone conclusions. I don't think it's reasonable to immediately dismiss these concerns as racism. So in this video, I'm going to take those concerns seriously and dive into House of the Dragon as objectively as possible and try to discover why this may be a legitimate issue for the upcoming HBO series. There's numerous directions a video like this could go in. I considered immediately making light of the whole thing and pointing to other scenarios where the race of the character has been changed, and mostly nobody noticed or they just didn't care. In my response to Corlys Velaryon being black, my initial thought is to ask the question, does the race of the character fundamentally change the story? I don't think it does, and I don't think it will, so it shouldn't matter. But then I saw another response that suggested that Corlys Velaryon is of Valyrian descent. But that doesn't mean that genetically they've tried to keep their bloodline pure through incest, so relations and alliances over the years could have changed the pigmentation of some characters. What if Corlys has ancestors from his mother's side that are actually from the Summer Isles? That's possible. Then race could at least fundamentally impact the background of characters, but does that make it woke? It might if that means there's going to be cultural differences, but cultural differences has been a theme for a while now in Westeros. In A Song of Ice and Fire, even without race, cultural bias played a role in how characters perceived each other, and it furthered the character development in a way. In Season 4, Oberyn Martell and Alaria Sand have a very open relationship, more common to Dorne than in King's Landing, making Lannisters even, of all people, uncomfortable with that difference of culture. But that wasn't called woke because it was a similar interpretation from the books. I think the problem we have is how much less detailed Fire and Blood and the Dance of Dragons truly is compared to A Song of Ice and Fire. It just doesn't seem that there's enough to go off of to declare that wokeness has taken over Westeros. Forget all of the magic. The Targaryen marrying siblings, they produce children out of incest. In this world, it's been accepted. Readers have continued reading knowing this. This is a different world, and I don't think that it offers room for any sort of real-world commentary on skin color that's going to further the discussion one way or the other. It might be what some call woke, but in the most subtle of ways, and if they do go in that direction, I think they'll use prominent female characters and the inequality they may face as women in Westeros, as far as adding any type of social commentary that we can utilize in the real world. What troubles me when I see this is that you're grouping this into a conversation where I really don't think it belongs. No, I don't think it's woke or blackwashing. Maybe they're intentionally having black characters to broaden the audience. Or maybe George R. R. Martin, while developing House of the Dragon with Ryan Condal, decided that since the description of Corlys Velaryon is vague enough in the text, that they'd take this character and his character traits in whatever direction that they please. Not to mention the Velaryons are well-traveled, and the potential for them to conceive children with a different race shouldn't be deemed impossible or abandoning canon, because it's not. There's nothing about the race of Corlys and therefore his children that will be considered canon and ultimately retconned by the show. If Corlys can be half black, that complexion could be shared by his children. Now, could HBO be streamlining black characters to broaden their audiences and make the characters more representative of the audience? Maybe. But even if they're doing that, how will it interfere with the story? Because that's when you could argue wokeness could go too far. Ask yourself, will Corlys Velaryon being black change the dynamic within the Targaryen Civil War? They would have to tell a very different story than that of which could be adapted from Fire and Blood. The source material, I don't believe, would offer a practical way to put a real-world social commentary on race into the story of the Dance of the Dragons, but also that would undercut the entire show. They wouldn't be telling the same story then, and then yeah, I'd say wokeness got in the way of the story, but nothing indicates that that is what's happening. My understanding with wokeness as a threat, if you perceive it that way, is that you're pushing an agenda that's taking priority over a good story or common sense. Now, if black actors do not present a threat to a good story, and there's a common sense explanation as to how they inherited their skin color as characters in the story, is that still woke? Is that still blackwashing the story? I'm truly not trying to take a hardline stance here, but if the story is good, what else really matters? And if it is woke, but the story in the show is objectively good and consensus from audiences is a good story, I struggle to find an argument against the black actors being cast. If it's just the race swapping in favor of diversity that bothers you, even if that is the case, and let's grant you the case for sake of the argument, well then, if that's the only change, why does that bother you? If it doesn't negatively or fundamentally impact the story, that is. If the majority of the cast is still white, and the inclusion of black actors was strictly to make the cast more diverse, does it matter if the show is still good? And if it is still good, what's the problem? I know it sounds like I'm repeating myself. I think I've demonstrated that wokeness is not a concern for me, but I also don't think I fully understand the opposite position anymore. Now that before I started this video and I looked into it, I'm trying to make sense of these grievances on like Reddit and on other YouTube channels or in the comment section of other YouTube channels. And I know this was a topic that many others covered before, but now that we've gotten some more teaser photos from the upcoming series, it seems like this conversation is coming back up. And on my last video, these comments were expressed in the comment section of my video there. So this seems to be something that's still relevant to some skeptics. And I'm just trying my best to understand where they're coming from. I just can't find a compelling argument against the casting that's rooted in the actual history from the books. And without that, I think our interpretation and reading, maybe that's been betrayed, but that's not the fault of the show or its cast. Look, please feel free to make a comment below that better illustrates the arguments against the casting choice if you have one. Please be respectful of each other's opinions. I'm not trying to start a severe, clash of ideals, although I'm sure that's probably what will ensue anyway. Look, thank you so much for watching the video. Please leave a like and comment below and become a subscriber so that you do not miss out on future content. If you'd like to support the channel, you can contribute by clicking the Patreon link in the description section below. Top tier members will be listed in the end credits in future videos. Thank you all so much for all of your support on this channel, and have a great night or a great day.